Well, hello everybody, it's me, GhostCritic. I'm back with a Friday comic book review video where I give you my thoughts, my opinions, my reviews of my stack of comics I read this week. And I was certainly chock full of questions after finishing my pile, as you will discover as this video goes along. And hopefully we may find some answers along the way, or you lot out there can help me out. So we're kicking off with Batman, this number one shot, Future's End, 5 years in the future storyline. Not been a huge fan. Again, with this one, I have the same feelings about it, in the sense that these stories don't feel like they're 5 years in the future. What goes on in this, as all the rest that I've read, don't feel like they have any serious ramifications, or we go, what could possibly happen in those 5 years to have come to this point. Now with Batman here, I understand that comic book years are very different to our years, and they don't really kind of stack up the same. But really, what could have happened in 5 years' time that put Batman really out of action? Yes, they kind of allude to the back breaking, i.e. Bane, and I'm like, yawn. Really, this is the new 52, not the regurgitated pre-52. I hope that's not the case, but then again, these stories, how they happen, this possible futures, no, they're not possible futures. This is just a crafty little ploy by DC to make the likes of you and me buy more of their comics. This story is not going to happen. It's nice kind of Elseworld story, but you will never see this come to pass. We've got Batman, kind of a last mission sort of deal, going into crash into Luthor's kind of high-rise office, come experimental labs, come secret lair, and to pick something up, to find something. We don't quite know what, but he has to go up against all sorts of manner of booby traps, robots, noxious gas, Bizarro, and although it's all very exciting, it's all very action-packed, the artwork doesn't really lend itself to the action that's in there. At least I don't feel so. And then by the end of it, we have a cloning issue, people. My God, Bruce, just let Gotham go. Let someone else take over the cowl, or just let the rest of the gang run Gotham. I'm sure in 5 years' time you will have given all the wisdom you possibly could have to your Bat family, however disparate they are at the moment. I'm sure Batman Eternal is going to bring you all back together in some shape or form. You could have trained them all to look after Gotham, and you can kind of, if you want to be that guy that's overlooking it all with all your screens, then fine. But just go to bed. Just go to bed. With Astro City issue 15, we get the end of the two-part story of our little old lady Ellie, who has this kind of museum to kind of, well, broken down robots that are used by villains throughout Astro City, and she's kind of made a tourist attraction out of it. Didn't start getting a lot of attention until her nephew Fred turns up, and it all hits the fan then, and Fred kind of lands Ellie in it and literally in it by meaning prison, as he's been lending out these robots to our secret villain to do nefarious crime ventures. And here we eventually find out who it is, and this is kind of like the dark secret, the past history that was kind of alluded to in the first part of this story. And it's okay. It's alright. It's an average story for Astro City. As always, I just think Kurt Busiek's so much better at encapsulating a storyline from start to finish in just one issue. It suddenly becomes, I don't know, these drawn out stories, and this was only 2 issues, suddenly you can find yourself slipping away bits. We didn't need to see that, that's just not necessary. How does that forward the plot? But it kind of has this kind of sweet nostalgic feel to it, and that's more to do, I think, with our character Ellie, who you can't help but kind of fall in love with. It's like, oh, that's like my gran. She's, you know, she's always kind of looking for the best in people. Fred certainly being the downright loser that he is, Ellie still wants to give him another chance in this issue, and you're just like, no, don't. There's no redemption for this man. But she gives him another try. It's nice to see some more Astro City heroes thrown in, as there is kind of a big almost clash between our secret villain, who has amassed all Ellie's robots to kind of take her down and get her revenge. And then there's this odd, very odd ending, and this is where the title for this little bit comes from. Is Ellie a robot? Is that what that last page was saying? I got a little bit confused by the end, but still, like I said, it was average to slightly above Astro City Tale. East of West issue 15, and Hickman, oh gosh, he pulls another great issue out of the bag. We've got our kind of horsemen, kids of the apocalypse, heading towards Death's Son to take him down, to kill him. But we find that this young boy has basically been preparing for this moment all his life, and he has certainly trained for this hard, has gone through a zillion different scenarios that could take place. And while we have the bravado of the horseman kids, it doesn't take long for our little boy to escape, potentially take down the horseman kids. But it was a really kind of tense read. I was kind of like, I don't often say this because I don't want the current market, as I mean it already is to some point, I don't want it inflated even more with TV programs based on comic books, but my God, I would love to see East of West on my TV screen. Whether it could kind of reach the kind of imaginative and world building heights that Hickman has done here and put it on the TV screen, I'm not sure, but it felt like I was watching kind of a climax to a story that we're gonna finish off in the next couple of episodes. And this issue does feel like everything is kind of heading to this kind of big all-out war that we've been kind of waiting for since the explosion at the kind of meeting of all the heads of the states. We have right at the top of this issue, we have, I always forget her name because it's really weird, Zyolian, basically Death's girlfriend, mother of the boy, I think. We see her reminiscing basically back to her days when she first came back home and her father kind of held her prisoner for leaving, and her readying herself for the coming war. As usual, the artwork by Gigotta is fantastic. It's cinematic, it's epic, it's punchy. East to West is a book to be reckoned with. You losers that gave this up right at the beginning, it's your loss. Batman Eternal issue 23, and yes, we have a fair smattering of Catwoman, hence the cover, but we do get the kind of ending to the confrontation between Batman and the Architect, and what he was up to on Beacon's Tower, this Beacon's Tower, and it wasn't necessarily to topple it, but cause more chaos within Gotham. Get onto that a little bit later, but I guess we get in this issue, do we, kind of confirmation on who Catwoman's father is. There has been kind of internet debate that it might have been Carmine Falcone, but what we certainly get in this issue is the kind of the stirrings, the kind of match is lit for Catwoman's progress to what we know is to come, where she will become kind of this kingpin of Gotham crime, and she kind of gets that push from Commissioner Gordon's prison cellmate, I think it's him, the Lion, and he gives her a few home truths. It pushes the story on, at least for Catwoman, a great deal, and off she goes. But going back to Beacon Tower, which was, we all thought was meant to kind of topple, but instead it's caused chaos in the streets of Gotham. And by the end of this issue, what our writer does, I can't, who is it? Is it Ray Fawkes? I think it is him kind of telling this story. Yes, it's plotted by Snyder and Tinian. But what we have here is all the kind of what seem to be disparate storylines going on, such as kind of all the supernatural goings on in Arkham Asylum, the kind of gang warfare, the nanobites down in the alleys, and obviously what happens at the end of this on the Gotham streets. We realise that despite the disparity of them all and how are they all connected, it's chaos. They're not connected by anything, you know, simple and orderly. This is to cause chaos within Gotham, and therefore let our new commissioner, Bard, how can I forget, every time he turns up someone has to say his name because he always looks so different, but this gives Bard the chance to enforce martial law in Gotham, finally, and obviously gain more control, tighten his grip on Gotham for whoever is our big bad. Is it Hush? Is there even someone higher than him? Really enjoyed this issue. Great storytelling, not too kind of flip-floppy with different storylines going on. We just stuck to kind of two. Batman Eternal pushing forward once again on the rise. We got Spread, issue number 3. It's more bloody good fun. The blood certainly does pour in this issue. As I said on Wednesday, I was looking forward to more kind of schlocky gore horror fest, and you certainly get this in bucketfuls. No, and kind of Crazy Molly and the Baby have made it to a kind of encampment civilization that kind of remaining human population have made. It's kind of like a sleazy, rundown, dangerous trading post for people to, you know, clean themselves up, trade for goods, rest and then move on. And it's fantastically drawn. We get a kind of aerial view of this small encampment, and its kind of grimness, its griminess, its dirtiness. In this issue, No and Molly taking, I guess, a well-earned rest, getting cleaned up. But there is a dark secret here in this encampment. Food, while not being plenteous, there doesn't seem to be a shortage. And the reason for that comes very clear when No makes his way into the kitchen, or the back kitchen, of our guy here on the cover's restaurant, I guess you call it. And No might find himself on the menu by the end of next issue. There is a scene in this which is just disgusting. All I am going to say is, if you're going to pick yourself up a hooker, check the firmness of your hooker's breasts first. I might be a week late with Night World issue 2, but I have to talk about it because it was another amazing issue from McGovern and Leonori on artwork. It's just brilliant! It's like Kirby never died. I can kind of praise this and tell you the whole story and what was going on. I can tell you how it's kind of so reminiscent of kind of Commandy, the New Gods. There's a little bit of kind of feel of Captain Victory in there with the villains. But what I wanted to point out was, and if I missed this, I've forgotten, but I didn't hear anyone mention this. Down in the boiler room, is that not a nod to Superman? We have this guy working on the boiler room for our underboss. He calls him the Super. He gives him back his red cape. He's wearing the Clark Kent glasses, and he has that little kiss curl of hair. Okay, it might be grey, he might have a beard, but if that doesn't scream Superman to you, I'm sure you snuck that in. But well done, you guys, because that just kind of made my day when I read that. I thought, you clever little bastards, really, I pick this up, buy it in its droves, because I want more of this. I'm going to finish off with Grendel vs The Shadow. Not going to say too much about this. It was a lengthy read, and let's be honest, I've only just finished it, but I'm so happy to have Grendel back in a comic book. I love the character. I love all his incarnations that we've seen in the past, whether it was at Comico or Dark Horse. They switched him up so often, kept the idea, the mythos of Grendel fresh every time they came out with something. Here, however, in Dynamite, in the Dynamite universe, we are back with the Hunter Rose version of Grendel. And due to an unearthed kind of Chinese urn, which has this kind of scroll in it, by reading it, Hunter Rose is transported back in time to where the Shadow resides, and Hunter kind of makes his mark well and truly on the kind of mobs of the time, heading to be the boss. Of course, this is going to perturb the Shadow somewhat, and they are going to come to head to head eventually. In fact, you know, last page we see action from both the characters, but in kind of cliffhanger style in a comic book. They don't meet up with each other until the very last page. It's great to have Matt Wagner back, not only writing but also drawing Grendel and having a little bit of fun with the Shadow as well. This is a pickup for me. Not going to worry about the extra price on this because we are getting a lot of extra pages in this and it's worth it. And we're done! That's it for me this week. Thank you all for sticking with me till the end and watching. If you're new to my channel, thank you for watching this video right up till the end. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more. If you liked what you saw, give me a big thumbs up. I really appreciate those. And in the comment section below, throw your thoughts on the comic books this week at me. Tell me what you were reading. Did you agree? Can you answer some of my questions that I threw out at you as well? So until next week when we do this all again, have a great weekend, folks. Until then, bye-bye.